This is a story from the time of the Second World War. After the Soviet Union invaded Poland, they captured many people. Among them was an army officer named Janusz. They accused him of various things and forced him to sign some papers. But he refused. Then one of the officers present there ordered, "Bring him inside." A woman was brought in. The officer asked her, "Do you know this man?" She replied, "Yes, he is my husband." The officer turned to Janusz and asked, "Do you accept this?" Janusz replied, "Yes, she is my wife." Then the officer asked the woman, "What else do you know about him?" She said, "He hates the Communist Party and spies for foreign countries." Hearing this deeply hurt Janusz, but he knew she was under pressure. After this statement, in the year 1940, Janusz was sentenced to 20 years in prison and was sent to a jail in Siberia. This prison was located in such a remote area that anyone who tried to escape would only meet death, surrounded by nothing but forests and snow for miles. When Janusz and the other new prisoners arrived, a prison officer told them, "This prison isn't your only jail. The entire surrounding area is your prison. For thousands of kilometers, there's nothing but wilderness and snow. Nature shows no mercy, and even if nature does spare you, the local people will kill you because every prisoner here has such a bounty on their head that no one will hesitate to kill you." Later, while standing in line for food, Janusz saw an old man accidentally drop a piece of bread. Another old man pounced on it, but the first man stepped on the bread to retrieve it. Watching this, Janusz gave his own food to the old man who tried to pick up the dropped bread. The man who had dropped the bread asked, "Janusz, do you want to die here? You can't survive on half a ration." Janusz said, "Look at his age." The older man replied, "I'm old too, but I'll survive till morning." He won't. Then he walked away. Afterward, another man approached Janusz and asked, "How many years did you get?" Janusz said, 20 years. He asked Janusz, "And you?" The man replied, 10 years. Janusz asked, "Why?" The man said, "I was an actor. I played the role of a rich man in a film, and apparently I made that character too rich. That's why I got 10 years. Janusz said, "You were imprisoned for acting?" He replied, "Yes, that's how it is here." Janusz asked, "Has anyone ever escaped from here?" The man replied, "No one ever has, and don't even think about it. If you try, you'll be killed." There were many prisoners in that jail, from different countries, criminals, and even serial killers. After a few days, the actor showed Janusz a possible escape route and said, "This is the way out. I've been looking for someone like you for a long time. Someone with courage, someone who can escape from here. Let me know if you want the next part or a rewritten version for narration or script. Here is the English translation of your story continuation." Janusz says, "Where will we go? The Soviet Union surrounds us from all sides, and on the other side is Germany." The other man replies, "We can go north and cross the border into Mongolia, but we'll have to wait for winter to end. Even if we escape from here, we'll die outside in the cold. And we'll need to collect a lot of food too, because the journey is long. Mongolia is thousands of kilometers away. This prison is located where the inmates cut wood in the forest and bring it back. One day, while returning from the forest, strong snowstorms begin. The cold is so severe that 3 or 4 people die right there from the wind. There's an older man named Mr. Smith who says, "We should go into the forest or we'll die here." But their supervisor says, "No, we'll stay here. We can't go into the forest." He knows that prisoners can escape from the forest, but Mr. Smith doesn't listen. He begins walking into the forest. The supervisor yells, "Stop or I'll shoot you." But Mr. Smith doesn't stop, knowing full well they'll die if they stay. Finally, the supervisor gives in and says, "Everyone go into the forest." Everyone follows, and their lives are saved. The next day, all the prisoners are gathered and lined up. An officer arrives and calls out Mr. Smith. He says mockingly, "You feel too cold, don't you? Come forward." Then he begins sending several people outside, including Janusz. Mr. Smith says, "They should have just killed us yesterday. Now they're sending us to the mines. That's nothing but death." In truth, the mines are full of pollution and death. Nothing good waits there. While working, Janusz starts hallucinating. He sees his home and a stone outside it. Underneath that stone is a key. He lifts the stone, takes the key, and enters his home in the vision. At that moment, a guard is about to shoot Janusz, but Mr. Smith intervenes and saves him. Mr. Smith scolds, "Are you crazy, Janusz? That guard could have killed you." Janusz replies, "I can't stay here anymore. I know an actor who has a plan to escape." Mr. Smith says, "He's a liar. When I was new here, he told me the same thing. But I'm ready to go with you." Janusz asks, "Why would you go with me?" Mr. Smith replies, "Because I know your weakness." Janusz asks, "What is it?" He replies, "Your humanity." Mr. Smith is the same old man from the beginning, the one who dropped his food, and another old man tried to steal it. Janusz had stepped in and given his food to the one who tried to pick it up. That's why Mr. Smith trusts that Janusz will help him if he's ever hurt or sick. Gradually, 7 people come together, all wanting to escape. Janusz, Mr. Smith, a criminal, an artist, an actor, a man who can't see at night, and one more man, so 7 in total. One day the winds are blowing fiercely. Janusz says, "Tonight is the perfect night to escape. Our footprints will disappear in the storm, and the guards won't know which way we went." That night, they shut down the generator, which can only be off for 10 minutes. In those 10 minutes, they cut through the wire fences and all 7 of them escape. When the guards realize what has happened, they want to pursue them. But the winds are so strong that the guards can't see anything. Eventually, they release dogs to track them. The escapees keep running. The winds are blinding, and they can barely see ahead. Janusz tells the criminal, "Give me your knife." He uses it to cut up a cloth to make face coverings, masks, to shield their faces from the freezing wind. They all wear the makeshift masks and keep moving through the night. By morning, they have reached far away from the Siberian prison. The snow is so deep that it becomes almost impossible for the guards to follow. They stop to check their supplies and find that they only have a few weeks' worth of food. The journey ahead is still very long. Mr. Smith tells Janusz, "You shouldn't have trusted that criminal. He's ruthless. In prison, he once killed a man just for his sweater." Janusz replies, "But he has a knife, and we'll need that." They continue forward, with Janusz using the shadows to guide them. They must go north to cross the Siberian border and reach Mongolia, which is still very far away. As night falls, they all sit down. Someone says, "We need food or we won't survive." One of them says, "I can set traps, we can hunt." But Janusz says, "We have to keep moving, we can't stay in one place too long." The criminal suggests, "Let's go to a village, we can get food there." Janusz replies, "No one will feed us, they'll hand us over." The criminal says, "Then we'll steal it." But no one agrees with his idea. It's going to be another freezing night. Janusz tells everyone to collect as much firewood as they can. While doing this, the man who can't see at night gets lost. When everyone returns, they realize one man is missing. Only one person knew he had night blindness. They all go to look for him but can't find him. In the morning, they discover him frozen, not far from where they camped. He had died sitting in the snow. They bury him there and continue their journey. They've now been traveling for days. The snowy lands of Siberia are behind them. They are moving through forested paths, weak, hungry, and exhausted. They begin to feel like they might not survive much longer. They approach a lake. Let me know if you'd like to continue the story, convert this into a screenplay, voiceover script, or create visual scene ideas. Here's the English translation of your entire passage, continuing from the previous part. According to the plan, they were supposed to reach the lake a week earlier, but they were still far from it. One day, while they were sleeping, they heard the sounds of animals. When they followed those sounds, they saw that some wolves had hunted something. They ran toward it, scared the wolves away, and then devoured the kill like animals themselves, because they were starving, and if they didn't eat, they would die. After this, Janusz decided he would go ahead alone to scout the path because the others were too weak to walk. Before leaving, he told everyone, "If I don't return within a week, assume that I'm dead." He then set off alone, facing immense hardship. He was hungry, weak, and had a long road ahead. He was on the verge of death when once again he began hallucinating. He saw his home again and the same stone under which the key was hidden. But somehow he made it back to his friends and told them, "There is a lake 3 days from here where we need to go." Saying this, he fainted. By morning, Janusz recovered, and they began their journey to the lake. On their way, they felt like someone was following them. When they caught that person, they saw it was a girl. She said she was running away from the Russians and wanted to come with them. But they all refused because they had very little food and didn't want another mouth to feed. So they left her behind and moved on. When they reached the lake, they found an animal trapped in a swamp. They killed it and final. Thirst and our vast deserts. Their condition had deteriorated badly. The girl frequently fainted due to dehydration. They all desperately needed water to survive. One day, Mr. Smith told Janusz, "I think there's water over there. There are trees." But Janusz dismissed it, saying it was just a mirage. Still, Mr. Smith didn't listen and headed in that direction with the others. Janusz, although reluctant, had no choice but to follow. When they reached there, they actually found it was like being given a new life. They drank lots of water, washed themselves, and filled up their containers. Then they decided to stay there for a few days because of the abundant water supply. But Janusz said, "This is not a good idea. We'll die of hunger. We don't have any food left. We must keep moving." Two of the group said they didn't think they could continue anymore. They were too weak and had no strength left. But Janusz insisted, "Would you like me to continue translating the story further or summarize the rest?" Age, here is the complete English translation of the entire passage you provided. They had planned to reach a week earlier, but they were still far from their destination. One day, while they were sleeping, they heard the sounds of animals. When they went toward the noise, they saw some wolves had hunted an animal. They rushed over, chased away the wolves, and began eating the prey like animals themselves. Because they were starving. If they didn't eat, they would die. After this, Janusz decided that he would go ahead alone to find a way, as the others were too weak to walk. Before leaving, Janusz told everyone, "If I don't return within a week, understand that I'm dead." Then Janusz set off. His journey was full of hardship. He was hungry, weak, and had a long way to go. Eventually, he was on the verge of death and started hallucinating again. He saw his home and the stone under which the key was hidden. But somehow, he managed to make it back to his friends and informed them that there was a lake 3 days away. After saying this, he collapsed unconscious. By morning, Janusz had recovered enough, and they resumed their journey. As they headed toward the lake, they felt like someone was following them. When they caught the person, they discovered it was a girl who said she was fleeing the Russians and wanted to come with them. But the group refused because they didn't have enough food and couldn't take on another person. So they left her behind. Upon reaching the lake, they saw an animal stuck in a swamp. They killed it, giving them plenty of food. One of them remembered the girl and went back to find her. He returned with her by nightfall, and the group allowed her to join them. That night, they ate heartily and slept peacefully because they had eaten well after many weeks. As they continued their journey, the girl at first lied about her background but eventually told them the truth. A few days later, they reached the Mongolian border. The journey had been extremely difficult. They had crossed snowy mountains and jungles, eaten insects and dead animals to survive, and even killed and eaten a dog. Just before crossing into Mongolia, the Russian criminal with them said he would stay behind. He didn't want to continue. That left 6 people. When they crossed the Mongolian border, they saw a picture of Stalin at the gate and realized they had reached another land, ruled by the same regime they were fleeing. So they decided to go to China, then to Tibet, and from there to India, where British rule meant safety. By this point, they had already been walking for several months and had covered 5,500 kilometers. But getting to India wouldn't be easy. They had to cross the Himalayan mountains, which was a massive challenge. As they began moving toward India, they faced blazing sun, thirst, and vast deserts. Everyone's condition worsened, especially the girl, who kept fainting. Her feet were swollen and she could hardly walk. Still, she insisted on continuing so she wouldn't slow the group down. But she couldn't endure the pain for long and died during the journey. They buried her and moved on. Now there were only 5 left. No one was in the condition to keep walking, but they had no choice. If they stopped, they would die. After walking several more kilometers, another man collapsed and died, leaving just 4 survivors. They were extremely weak, without food or water, and had no energy left to continue. After walking a little further, they reached the edge of the desert and saw mountains ahead, which meant the desert was almost over. But by that time, Mr. Smith collapsed from exhaustion and told Janusz to go on without him. But Janusz refused to leave him. He told the other 2 to go ahead and search for water, and he and Smith would follow. That night, they all reunited and slept on the desert ground. They hadn't eaten in days and were in terrible shape. The next morning, one of them saw a snake crawling near his foot. He tried to catch it because it could be food and they needed energy. As he chased the snake, he saw water trickling from a rock. Overjoyed, he called the others, and they all drank water directly from the rock and gave some to Mr. Smith. They also managed to catch the snake and eat it. After drinking water and eating, they regained a little strength. That night, Janusz came to talk to Mr. Smith. Janusz said he knew Smith's son had been killed by the Russians. Janusz asked, "Can I say his name?" "David," said Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith replied, "You're trying to make me want to live by saying his name, but life is a punishment and death is freedom." Janusz asked, "Then why didn't you kill yourself?" Smith responded, "By staying alive, I'm punishing myself. I brought my son to Russia. They captured us and forced him to testify against me. When he did, they killed him, just like they forced your wife to testify against you." Janusz said, "My wife is alive. I know she's not dead, and I don't want her to live with regret like you. I want to meet her again. I know she feels guilty for testifying against me." The next morning, the 4 of them set out again. After walking hundreds of kilometers, they finally reached the Great Wall of China. But they couldn't stay in China because of the ongoing war between China and Japan. So they moved on to Tibet. Again, they faced towering snow-covered mountains, but managed to reach Tibet. The Tibetan people welcomed them warmly and gave them food. One of the locals told them there's a way to India through Sikkim, but due to the extreme winter, it was dangerous now. He offered to shelter them until the weather improved, but Janusz refused to stay. He said, "If we stop now, we'll get too comfortable and won't be able to continue." Mr. Smith said, "I'll go to China. I've heard the US military has a program there, and they can help me get to America. Mr. Smith was American and wanted to go home. That night, they all slept there. The next morning, Janusz and the other two left. Mr. Smith stayed behind. After crossing many more mountains, they finally reached India. They were warmly welcomed. To reach India, they had covered a total of 6,400 kilometers on foot. But for Janusz, the journey didn't end there. Poland was still under communist control. He didn't return home for the next 50 years. When Poland gained independence in 1989, Janusz finally went back. In the final scene, shown at the beginning of the story, we see the same stone with a key underneath. Janusz uses the key to open the gate, and inside is his wife. They embrace and cry together. This marks the end of the story, which took place in 1939 during World War II. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more such content.